Hello, Gills fans, and welcome to the Monday assessment by the View from the Medway Fancast in partnership with the Gillingham Supporters Club. The Gills made it back-to-back wins on Saturday as Swiss Army man Robbie McKenzie scored the only goal of the game at Stadium MK. We all knew going into this game that the team faced a tough test, but with discipline, togetherness, and 100% commitment from the whole squad, we brought 3 points back to Kent. Each player stepped up when it mattered most, and Mackenzie's goal not only secured the win, but also demonstrated his versatility and knack for being in the right place at the right time. Of course, looking ahead, we must build on this momentum, and the upcoming fixtures present an opportunity for us to climb the table. The support from you, the fans, is invaluable, and your energy at every match truly makes a difference. So let's continue to rally behind the boys as we head into the next challenge. And of tonight, I am, of course, joined by my co-host and lead singer of Wing Life, Kris, the formidable and amazing man, Mr. Tom Jasper, and making his debut tonight, we have Mike Gammon. Guys, Kris, are you well, Mr. Lead Singer, Mr. Gary Barlow of this fine band that we have called Wing Life?
Yeah, I thought I'd comprehensively disbanded this Wing Life thing last week.
No, still going. Don't care. Still going. Still going. Okay. I wasn't here last week, but I'm putting my foot down. It's still going. Wing Life forever. Mike, first time on the show. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you, buddy?
I'm very well, and thank you for having me. First podcast of any sort that I've actually been on. So I've done loads of public speaking, in my line of work. So first time doing a podcast. See how it goes.
What a place to lose your podcast virginity. Tom, thank you for coming back on tonight. You've stepped in, obviously, at the last minute. But how are you, buddy? You hope you were looking forward to Christmas, or are you a Grinch inside?
I'm a Grinch this year. I've been slowly getting towards more festive, but I've gone back to Grinch mode. 2 questions. Kris, if you're Gary Barlow, do you have a really tall son, or is that just him? And Mike, is that shirt normally there, or is that just for appearances for tonight?
That's actually the cover up.
He wanted to copy me. That's what it was. Yeah, all my shirts.
No one does, mate. No one does.
That's true. Well, look, let's jump straight into the show, guys. So, first off, tonight, we are going to go with the Views news, of course. So, in the news, obviously, Joe Bode and Protocol, the home of the Shouting Men, Volume 2, and the club visit Medway Hospital. So, first off, we'll come with Joe Bode and the Protocol. Obviously, we all know what happened to Joe Bode last week. Pretty much got clotheslined, should have been a red card, and 6 months in prison for the offending player. Definitely 100%. But Kris, look, in all seriousness, we fully understand why these protocols are in place. They are to protect players. A lot of head injuries, obviously, you need to protect these players. Can you understand why they are in place, or do you feel maybe it's a bit OTT, and actually if a player says he's feeling okay, he should be able to play?
No, I think that it's the right thing to do. It's a head injury after all. You never know. He could have got up and been absolutely fine, walked down the tunnel, and you hear about brain hemorrhages, you hear about brain injuries and stuff like that. I think it's the best to have it in place. He might have felt okay during the week, but again, putting him on the field of play, playing at 90 miles an hour instead of 10 miles an hour, he may be playing in training. It's probably for the best.
Yeah, Mike, Kris makes a great point there, and obviously when you do, have these knocks, sometimes it's not an instant that you get these injuries. Obviously, you understand. I'm sure many of you may have read that they are starting to sort of ban this, heading for young children as well. Do you think again that's sort of going to be detrimental to the game in the future, or again, do you think it's great that they're protecting the children's safety?
I think protecting the children is probably a good thing. There's plenty of time to get involved with heading the ball when they're able to do so. I mean, is it too far? Maybe. I mean, the balls are a lot lighter than what they were. I mean, I grew up in the 80s and heading a football that was like the weight of a ton of bricks. Like, that's the sort of thing that I grew up with. And But footballs are a bit lighter now, and I don't think it's half as bad.
No, it's not. I mean, actually, while I was listening to BBC Radio 5 Live, and they were saying that obviously, these leather balls soaked up so much water, especially in the wet, but nowadays synthetic, they are that little bit lighter. But Tom, going back to Joe Bode, look, it was a absolutely nasty hit last week. What was your takes on it? I mean, you know me, I'm Mr. Gillingham. I'm going to back my players 100% during a game, so it was a red card. But what were about your views? And obviously we are looking forward. Do you think Joe's going to come straight back into the team when he's available?
Firstly, views on the actual incident itself. I mean, having looked at it, Joe receives a throw-in that he wasn't expecting, and he's already off balance anyway because the throw was sort of chucked at his feet. And I do think he's just turned, and you might not agree with me here, Matt, but I do think he's just turned and ran into the elbow as much as the elbow's come towards him. Obviously, it doesn't look good. And I do think that based on normal reactions, if the players had deemed it to be an elbow, they would have run towards the referee and demanded a red card. It didn't happen. I do think it was innocuous. The way he went down kind of intimated that, he was a little bit shell-shocked by it. So, again, right thing to do in terms of the protocol. It's actually one of the rules that I actually do agree with, and recent rule changes that have been brought in. I don't think it was a red card, or in that as extreme as that. In terms of where he is in the squad, obviously Joe will be frustrated because he's kind of been in and out a lot more than he might have expected recently. But I think because we've been getting some players back in those positions, maybe he will play more of a sort of a bit part role in the next few weeks. But I'd like to see him in the squad more. I think he offers us something really dangerous when he's on the ball.
He does. And look, all joking aside, I fully agree with you. It was the incident itself. He's kind of run into him. Not really. There wasn't an elbow. And actually, again, when you look back at the Gillingham players' reaction, Joe went down. 2 seconds later, they then start appealing to the referee. If it had been a blatant elbow, they would have been straight over to the referee. So I do back you. But apart from that, should have been a red card. And let's move on. So Kris, the Home of Shouting Men Volume 2. Have you got yours on order? If not, why not?
It's quite a funny one, really. I've put it on because it's obviously nice to get the news out there. And I do have a bookcase behind me, all of which are full of my wife's books because I can't read a book.
How many of them are 50 Shades of Grey,
I get 5 minutes into reading and then get bored. I think it's great that it's come out. I think it's from 90. Is it 93 onwards?
From 1993 to 2023.
Yeah, so that I'd like to read the first one. So if anyone's got the first one that I could borrow, and then I can get the second one. But it's great. Phil and the guys have done a really good job with it. I know a few people have sent me pictures of certain pages, mainly the ones with pictures in it, which is always good for me. It's brilliant.
It is. Mike, have you got yours on order? And again, if so, why not?
Right. Well, I'm going to give you a little tale because.
Here it goes.
Yeah, it's one of those things that sometimes when you ask for something for Christmas. And then you get that ultimate disappointment. I mean, going back to my childhood, I asked for a Scalextric and it never appeared. So I'm hoping people have actually paid attention this year and actually got me the Volume 2. I mean, I've read Volume 1, but I haven't got it in possession. I mean, you can't get hold of it for love nor money now, I've noticed. So the answer is, it depends if Mrs. Gamble's actually been paying any attention.
And also, if you've been a good boy, Santa may deliver it and drop it under your tree.
I think that's by the by. I think I deserve it. I'm going to be spoiled child. I don't care.
So, Tom, I mean, I don't know if you've seen any of the images floating around. Again, the odd snapshot that we've had of the book. But look, it's brilliant that the Gills can have this kind of history, that we can put it into a combined volume and get it out to the younger fans, because ultimately, if you're, if you were born in, 2010, you're 14 years old, you're not really going to know the history from the 1993 about the Paul Scally era, how he bought the club. So it's really great piece of history, isn't it, for these young Gills fans to maybe get hold of this Christmas?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've seen sort of some, as you say, some shared pictures online of some of the pages, but I think you're right in terms of, I know that with social media these days, you can have a lot of, and with the internet in general, you can access a lot of these sort of clips, and sort of go online and have a look at things that the club shares. But to actually see it and have it, in book form, obviously, I mean, books aren't as popular these days amongst the young people, are they? But I think in terms of that, it's nice just to have that memento. And for those that have got it, I don't know whether it blocks out August 2022 to January 2023. I'd like it if it did. But ultimately, I think it's nice to have that kind of souvenir, to sort of have it all in one place. With so much being digital these days, it is nice to, I guess, have a book in front of you. Although I do agree with Kris, I'm not an avid reader at all. I've not read a book for about 30 years. So, but this is an exception, I guess, because it's Gills, and we all want to see, go back and look at players and games that we kind of remember from years gone by.
Yeah, to be honest, I am more of a picture book guy myself, anything brightly coloured and, sort of those fluffy bears and stuff like that. I like those touch and feel books. Yeah, that's kind of my area of expertise. And talking about being a child, and obviously every Christmas, the Gillingham players and staff always go and visit the Children's Hospital at the Children's Ward, at Medway Hospital. Kris, let me come to you first. They always go there. They take, balls, presents, some signed shirts to certain kids. It's a great thing that they do completely off their own backs. It's such a wonderful thing, and it really helps Gills get out there in the community, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I think that's the big word there, the community, because I know Brad and Shannon have been quite hot on that since they've come in. Everything about community. I know a lot of clubs do these. They go to hospitals and stuff at Christmas. It's just an extra string to the bow with the way Brad and Shannon want the club to be run and the community side of it, really.
It is, Mike. I don't know if you've ever been in that situation where you have been in hospital over Christmas. Unfortunately, I have. My appendix burst, and I spent Christmas in hospital. But again, for these young kids, obviously a lot of them are quite ill, and having some of these players come round and just spend time with them, it must really help them. And I'm not saying that it's going to help heal them, but it must really help sort of feel their insides really nice and feel warm, especially around Christmas time when they are in this sort of dark, horrible place called a hospital.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what Kris touched on there, the key word there is community. That Brad and Shannon have a vision for how they want the club to be and how they want to interact with the Medway area. And I think it's absolutely imperative that I know this has been going on since prior to Brad and Shannon coming along, but it's absolutely imperative that they keep things like this up. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't do one visit to the Medway Hospital and find Mark McCammon in there one time. But it's great that that these kids. I mean, the thing is, it's a small thing for the players to do, but it's such a massive thing for the kids. And I work within the sector of like health and social care, and I'm always hearing of these like uplifting stories and how much of a difference it makes to these people, just to have a little bit of time taken out of busy schedules, especially at Christmas time as well, when as you said, Matt, you've got people who are like not going to be home for Christmas. It's quite bleak, the days are shorter anyway, and it's just such a meaningful thing for them.
It is. And Tom, here you go. Let's get your lists out for this. What more can Gills do then, sort of in the community? I mean, obviously we know that every Christmas that they will go to the hospital and speak to these children, but Brad and Shannon really are community based, and they really feel that they need to bring the whole of sort of Kent together under this Gillingham brand. But what more can we do? Because I kind of want to get involved. I want to help. I want to take Gillingham to the masses.
Oh, I remember actually Shannon talking about the fact that we were the only club in the EFL that didn't have this in place, didn't we? So we had to, make that a priority. And it's quite actually damning to see that we were the only one out of 90, out of 72 clubs that didn't have some sort of structure in place for that. Now, I can remember going, years ago when I was sort of late, sort of early, sort of 8, 9, 10 years old, and going up to Hempstead Valley and seeing the players there signing autographs and giving out tickets and that sort of thing. And I think as much as that might be a little bit outdated now, it's a really good concept to have. I do think that we should have more in terms of actually match day offers, ticket offers for young kids and families, and to actually do that via a face-to-face sort of medium. That'll be a really good initiative to sort of go back to basics and just say, if you want 4 tickets for your family to come and watch Gills, it's not all about going online and booking them. It's actually getting them face to face. Tommy and Tammy being there and engaging more with the kids in that kind of situation. But I know that as you say, the Gunners have been very heavy on that sort of thing. They actually my daughter's club football that she plays for, they did the end of season awards for them last year too. So it's actually quite nice to sort of do that just down the road from us, and they're genuinely interested in that side of things, and that's really nice for us to see that they're really engaging in it. It's not just a photo op for them. It's not just let's tick that box and get that done. They genuinely actually want to do that for the club and the area. So yeah, long may that continue. Obviously, the hospital visit is a nice touch for so many of the players to come down there and do that, and so they should really. They're not just playing for the fans; they're playing for the whole area as well. So long may that continue.
Do you know? I've got to agree with you, Tom. We're about the same age, and I remember going up to Hempstead Valley and seeing all these players up there and how amazing it was. But look, do you know what? I live in Canterbury, which is half an hour's drive down the M2. I've never seen in the sort of 15 years I've lived in Canterbury any Gillingham really event apart from a soccer school that's held on a Thursday night at the University of Kent. But if they want to reach out to more places in Kent, Canterbury's only half an hour down the road. Tunbridge, Maidstone, start spreading out. But let's get on to the game. Obviously, that's why you guys are all here watching. So, MK Dons facts. So, the club was founded in 2004 after Wimbledon FC relocated to Milton Keynes in 2003. The club took the name Milton Keynes Dons and changed its colours and crest. The club won the Football League trophy in 2008, beating Grimsby 2-0 at Wembley. They reached the championship in 2015, their highest ever league status. On to, obviously, the lineup then. So, when Kris gets ready, there it is. We had, of course, in goal, Glenn Morris. We then went with a back 4. We kind of changed up to a 4-2-3-1 this week. So, Max Clark, Max Amar, Connor Masterson, and Harry Webster playing at right back. Ethan Coleman and Robbie McKenzie playing as the 2 holding midfielders. A 3 then of Aaron Rowe, Jack Nolan, and Jaden Clark. And then playing up top, we had Elliot Nevitt. A subs bench consisted of Romeo Hutton, Johnny Williams, Jake Turner wearing his fashionable mask, Shadowji, Bradley Dack, Ewan Williams, and Josh Andrews. So, as I said, we lined up in a 4-2-3-1 formation, reverting back from last week from the 4-4-2 to a 4-2-3-1, which I think was actually, especially away from home, against a team that was going to have a lot of the ball possession, was a great call by Mark Bonner and his backroom team. So, on to the game itself. So, obviously, we all know the final score. Gillingham walking away with 3 points with Robbie McKenzie's goal in the 59th minute. But, Kris, going through the game itself, look, in the first 5 minutes, we kind of knew what was going to happen. I mean, look at the possession there over the entire game, 77% to the 23% there for MK Dons. We knew they were going to have a lot of the ball. But Mark Bonner kind of set his team up in a way to say to those players, tell MK Dons, come on, you come at us and break us down. You can have as much of the ball as you want, but we are going to completely keep you out. And to be honest, I don't feel for the entire game MK Dons were going to ever score.
Yeah, I think there was the one with Hogan, was it? That he missed that absolute sitter there. But everything they did came down Max Clark's side front the first half anyway. They were pretty all over us. they were throwing balls into the box. They weren't really connecting with many of them. I think they had a header that was headed into the ground as well in the first half. But yeah, we did a good job. I'm sure we'll get onto it in a bit, but the defenders for me, especially the centre two, were absolutely phenomenal at the weekend.
They were. I mean, when you look at MK Dons' last few games that they've played, I think they were averaging something like 7 or 8 shots on target per game. You look at what our stats there are, 3 shots on target we've kept them down to. One thing we alluded to, Mike, before the game, and we're going to get onto it, is as Kris alluded to, the first opportunity that MK Dons had, their right winger came at Max Clark, went round the outside, got a cross in, Hogan scuffed his chances. But then for the remainder of the game, he kept cutting inside. Now, was that down to Max Clark forcing him inside, or do you think that's just the way Scott Lindsay's got his team playing, that actually he'd rather get the ball and tippy-tappy his way into the box?
Yeah, I mean, as I said to you before, I was very, very surprised that I thought, Nemain could have Max Clark for pace whenever he wanted. And I was very surprised that, after that first, cutting around the outside of him, getting that ball into Hogan, who ultimately fluffed it, and we got away with that. But, you think, they were that close. Why didn't they try that some more? Some of it, I think, was good game management by Max Clark to sort of, show him on the inside. But the thing is, I think MK Dons as a team, not necessarily in the main, just himself, but they were looking for the perfect goal. And I think, whilst they were trying to do that, I think they just forgot some of the fundamentals that can work. Admittedly, they have won before the game with us, they won their last 6 league games, and they'd scored plenty of goals in that, but they'd also conceded as well. So I don't know whether there was that sort of slight apprehension that they know that goals can be scored against them. And, they just tried to keep that possession, but just ultimately without that killer pass.
Yeah, it's really weird. I mean, obviously, you've got to think, Tom, a few months back when we were obviously looking for a manager at one point, everyone was saying, let's get Scott Lindsay in, and you see what his team have done recently, and Alex Gilby has been absolutely key to that. But in the first few minutes, young Harry Webster went in for a really nice hard challenge on Alex Gilby. Let's talk about Alex Webster, because I really do see a good little footballer in there, and he's really starting to come into his own skin. What do you think about him?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously after the Bromley game, then Bonham did say that he'd make some changes to personnel that he didn't feel were cutting it, and obviously we now know that Hutton's one of those players that he's sort of singled out inadvertently by doing that. And Webster played really well on against Salford, and we knew that he would then be in contention. I am a little bit surprised that he started again, because I didn't wonder whether 2 games in a row would come too quick for him. But ultimately, he's proven again that he's got, the potential for that. Obviously, I know he came off, didn't he, after about an hour or so for Hutton. But it's nice to know that Webster's now an option out there as a right back. Again, he probably, maybe the MK Dons didn't expect him to sort of come out as aggressively as he did, because obviously an 18-year-old right back making his only second start might have been a target for their sort of left-sided players. But again, really solid. Nice to know that he can mix it about a little bit, and ultimately going away from home to one of the best teams in the league in terms of form, he could have been a little bit of a shrinking violet, but he was anything but. So nice to know that he's got that kind of confidence to come in and do that, which ultimately a lot of our young players haven't always had the chance of doing so. So, with the step up from the under-18s to the first team's a massive jump. But if he's one of those that can prove it's doable, then hopefully that gives others a chance to, get some confidence from that as well.
Yeah, and Kris, obviously Tom made a good point when Bonner did come out and suggest that there were certain players that he didn't feel were pulling their weight, if we're going to put it that way. It does seem like potentially one of those maybe could be Romeo Hutton. Harry Webster obviously has come in and done such a great job, but we also have to give, I think, Mark Bonner massive credit, because we've always criticised him on how delayed sometimes he can be with making his substitute changes. But at the weekend, I thought his substitutes were perfect timing. You know, he made the right ones at the right time. Everything just kind of fell into place.
Yeah, I think you've got to think as well. It's situational, isn't it? With the subs, sometimes I think I've been critical of him and how late he makes them, or maybe the wrong ones at times. But it's situational. It's kind of easier, in my eyes, to make the substitutions when you're the team that are constantly under the cosh, because you can't really make a mistake with them substitutions. I'd like to touch on what you said about Max Clark, because I did notice in the first half, like you messaged me and said that Max Clark was going to be your man of the match.
Spoiler alert.
No, you're the host. It doesn't matter. Yours doesn't matter. But I did notice that he was getting absolutely fleeced down that side until Aaron Rowe actually started picking up and helping him there. I think where Aaron Rowe's been out for such a long time, he's kind of getting him back into the game. It may have not been the best game to get him back into because we were always going to be under pressure. But he did, as soon as he started helping Max Clark in that position, we actually started defending quite a lot better. But yeah, going back to your point about the substitutions, I really don't think that he could have made a wrong one at the weekend, because we weren't really, and I mean no disrespect saying it, we weren't really in the game. Is Max gone? Max gone?
Look, Max, I've got to. So no, I'm here. I'm here. Yeah, sorry. So Mike, obviously,
there.
I want to bring up obviously Aaron Rowe. Kris did mention him a minute ago. There was a couple of moments, especially in that second half, a couple of little step overs and little moves he was doing. You can really see though that there is a really, really good player in there, and he's probably somebody we have missed most of this season.
I think so. Yeah, definitely. I think with the style of player that he is, that he's not afraid to have a little go at a player. Yes, I mean, admittedly, a game where we're not expected to have much possession, where there's going to be a lot of running, and he's just come back from injury, is a big ask. But I think he definitely stepped up that task, and he looked like he wanted to be on that field and he wanted to make a difference, and he did exactly that with the assist for McKenzie. So, to have him, coming into a team, doing, quite a bit of running. He was on the field for quite some time as well, so, it's good to get those minutes back into him, particularly in a sort of like what is, quite a physically intense 90 minutes for the team, not having a lot of the ball. But, when you do have the ball, it's what you do with it, really. And he wasn't doing the usual sort of pass back to like your left back or your right back, and then it goes all the way back to Morris or Aimer, and then it gets hoofed back up. He wanted to have a go, and I think that's the sort of wing play that we want and that we needed.
It was, and Tom, let's go on to the actual goal itself, because Mark did mention it was a great little cross by Aaron Rowe, but not 30 seconds later, MK Dons were really having a go at us, really attacking hard, and then Connor Masterson picks the ball up 5 yards outside of his box, runs it the entire length of the pitch, which is something that really got me on the edge of my seat, seeing him do that, really driving the team forward. We managed to get a shot away, and the goalkeeper parries it around the post. But it was such a great little passage of play, and obviously that was our first corner actually in the entire game. It was our only corner. But when the goal went in, I don't know if you caught it, but there was a certain player, a certain Wing Life member, plays out on the right, that was getting a lot of stick recently. That maybe he wasn't one of the ones that really didn't care so much. Did you see Jack Nolan's celebration when that ball went in?
Did he walk quicker than 2 miles an hour this time?
Do you know what? It was just lovely. Do you know what? With the amount of stick that he had been getting, I just thought it was really nice to see that kind of reaction from him, because it was a good cross originally by him. It was nice and deep, and then Aaron Rowe, of course, dinks the ball back in. But do you think Jack Nolan's deserved all the stick he's getting?
No, I don't read a lot into that personally. I don't. You know, it's not in some people's nature to go berserk after a goal. I don't think if you look at even if you look at our goal go on Saturday, like I know that we still had quite a bit of time left, but if it's a last minute winner, yeah, of course I would expect him to be in amongst that and all that sort of thing. But even if you look at that yesterday, the players still knew that they had half hour to go in what was quite a difficult game potentially. Like they're not going to go crazy and start, you know, taking shirt off and all sorts. And Nolan maybe just isn't that kind of that player. But I do think, you know, going back to the Aaron Rose situation just quickly, I think not to get too ahead of ourselves, but ultimately this is the way Bonner wants to play. He wants to play with the 4-2-3-1. He wants to have dangerous wingers, Rowe, Clark on the pitch, because especially away from home where we are up against it a little bit, they can offer a little bit of relief, a little bit of an outlet. I don't think Nolan's suited for the wing game, if I'm honest. I think he's got the sort of a lot of the Mahoney vibes from last season and ultimately goes missing for quite a lot of it. So I think the three that he played behind Elliot and Elliot on Saturday would be probably his preferred three. He's just now getting Rowe up to match fitness, but he put a really good shift in back and forth on Saturday, and obviously that will only come, you know, that will only improve with more minutes in the on the pitch. But yeah, I don't really into a lot, you know. Obviously, character's been questioned quite a lot recently, but I don't really into a lot of the whole Nolan thing with his lack of celebration against Salford. If he does it on the pitch, I don't really care what happens off it.
I just want to sort of chime in on the Nolan thing. Is that I don't know if anybody noticed that he was actually putting his arms up in the air before Robbie McKenzie had scored. So like he was like, you know, gesturing on the pitch kind of thing. Yeah. You know, he was showing emotion, and he was pretty much pre-celebrating, and it's just as well it went in, to be honest. But you know, he was definitely like into the game, and he was celebrating maybe a bit previous, but. Yeah, he showed a bit of passion, and yeah, he did go and congratulate, you know, when the goal was scored and whatnot. But yeah, it's I think that's something that's definitely sort of worth noting, that you know, he does show something on the pitch, just not all the time when people expect.
That's true. And let's actually talk about the goal then, Kris, because as I said, mentioned earlier, Swiss Army man, as I like to call him, Mr. Robbie McKenzie, with the goal. First off, what great feat by the man. But second, that goalkeeper, his head, you could tell he wanted to bury it, couldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, Robbie McKenzie is just the gift that keeps on giving at the moment, isn't he? Like, you know, he's out injured and then he comes back. And there's no coincidence that we look a much better side since he's come back from injury. And yeah, I do like to. I mean, I've been really critical of Connor Masterson. Sorry, Connor Mahoney. I was thinking about what Tom just said there. Yeah, I've been really critical of Connor Masterson and Max Amer lately. But that run out from the back is very reminiscent of what we saw him do a lot last season. He did quite a lot of that under a certain manager who will not be named.
Go on, name him.
For reasons of starting debate. Yeah, so he used to do that quite a lot last season, and don't forget he scored quite a few goals, not just from headers, but doing that move, running forward the ball. So he needs to take a lot of credit for that. And then obviously the ball comes into Robbie, lovely couple of touches to get out his feet, straight down the goalkeeper's throat, and it was a very Massimo Taibbi type situation, wasn't it, when he used to play for Man United?
Yeah, I mean, Mike, I'm guessing you've watched it go. I mean, I've watched it back 3 or 4 times. I hate to say it because it's an opposition goalkeeper, but I really felt for the guy because he's been really good all season for MK Dons. I think that's like really his first big mistake he's made. But I don't know if you've ever played in goal, but if you've ever had that happen to you, yeah, you just want to bury your head in the sand, don't you?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, the thing is, like, you know, being a goalkeeper, you know, every mistake you made is amplified 1,000 times compared to other places on the pitch. And, you know, yeah, the ground, you know, he wanted the ground to swallow him up and take him to Canada. Like, you know, it's one of those things that it happens to every goalkeeper, no matter how competent that they are. It's it's unfortunate, but the thing is, we will take it. Absolutely, it's one of those things that he should have like set his feet. He should have like got behind it and everything like that. But it's these fortunate things that will win us games every now and again. It'll win them games every now and again as well. But it's just goalkeeper mistakes are always magnified, and there's no getting away from it, unfortunately.
Well, it's the old adage, isn't it? Of goalkeeper makes a mistake, it's going to lead to a goal. If a forward makes a mistake, he's going to get another chance.
Yes.
But Tom, let's obviously move on to the as I said, the magic of Robbie McKenzie. Obviously, we need to take our luck away from home when we're playing at these teams like this. But that little 1-2 out of his feet, boom, goes in. You're going to take that all day long as a Gillingham fan, aren't you?
Yeah, and the thing with Robbie is that there's not many Gills players in the squad currently that have the faith to shoot from outside the area. I know it was slightly inside the area, this one, but if you don't have a go at goal, you're never gonna reap the rewards, are you? So realistically, like obviously Bromley last week, the week before last, and then MK, he scores goals because he has pot shots away from home, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but I wish that as a squad we would have more faith in ourselves to shoot from 18 yards plus and see what happens. Because ultimately, goalkeeper wasn't expecting it. It's come through a crowd of players, and that's probably what's led to him spilling it. So we should follow that lead a little bit more. But with Robbie on the pitch, he will have a go from that distance out and find himself in really good areas on the pitch. So long may that continue, because obviously that is something that sets us aside. If we can go a goal up, albeit fortuitously, and then have the presence of mind to conserve that lead, what's that about? The lottery, and if you don't buy a ticket, you don't win the raffle. That's what that goal was, just having a go and seeing what happens. So Robbie does that for us, and I wish more players would take the sort of similar stance on just give it a go and see what happens.
Just have a shot. Just have a go. Yeah. I don't like to bring it up every week, but I scored at Priestfield just because I had a go, and that was it.
You've never mentioned it before.
I scored in front of the Raynham end. Best moment of my life. But you're right, Tom. You're 100% right.
Didn't I assist you on that one?
I think you did actually. Yeah, I think
I'll claim it. I'll claim it now. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right, 100%. If you don't buy a ticket, you ain't going to win the lottery. 100% true that saying. You don't have a shot, you're not going to score a goal. Kris, obviously, we're going to just quickly talk about Glenn Morris very quickly, because right at the end of the game, he did make a very, very big save. Got some studs in his calf or his quad, I think it was. Right at the end of the game. What an important save that was by the Cat right at the end of the game.
Yeah, you're talking to me. Sorry.
Yeah,
No, it was good, and I did notice earlier on in the game as well, after watching it back, that he did feign an injury in the second half, I think. Because he went down, and then it gave the players time to go over and talk to Mark Bonner, and then once Mark Bonner had spoken to him, he was up again with a smirk on his face.
Okay, yeah.
He needs a rest, and he's 41 almost. He'll lie down.
Well, that's me.
Mike, here you go. Here's
I'm 43.
Tom has just has alluded to his age. He is 41, I think, either very soon or he's just turned 41. Would you give him another year?
Absolutely, yeah. I think on the form that he's been on, when he's played games for us, even when he's had time out of the team and then come back into the team, he is Mr. Dependable. He's I feel so much more confident with him in the sticks compared to Turner. I always feel that we're going to have a tight game at the back when we've got Glenn Morris in goal. I mean, to me, the age more suggests experience rather than Christ. He should be thinking about hanging up the boots or anything like that. If he's still got the reflexes, if he's still got the know-how, if he's still got the defense management as well, which is something. Because I mean, say what you like about Aimer, that I don't think he's as much of a leader on the pitch. And I think having someone like Glenn Morris behind him, I think is absolutely crucial to the defensive efforts that we'll have this season. I think he should definitely be in goal for the rest of the season as long as he's playing like he is.
Oh, that's a big statement. So then, Tom, who would be your number one for the rest of the season if both were fit?
I've got to agree with Mike there. I think, I've got no issue with Turner. I don't get. I think he had mistakes against Bradford when he came back. I think he was rushed back too soon from injury, and I think that might have impacted his performance on the day. But ultimately, he's not made a lot of other errors apart from that. So that, I think the fallout from that was a little bit harsh. But come to think of it, Morris has been really dependable whenever he's played for us, whether he's been off the bench or from the start. And I just think that if you've still got, as Mike says, if you've still got all the basics that a goalkeeper needs, i.e. the reflexes, the ability to marshal that defence, doesn't matter how old you are. I know that Joe Murphy at Tranmere is still playing at like 64 years of age. I think it's just, he's got all the same attributes that he had years ago with us, and he's still, got all the same qualities. There's no signs of him slowing down in terms of his abilities. So yeah, by all means, it will only really be down to him if he was to feel that he couldn't carry on playing for whatever reason, or felt that he wanted to kind of, to drop down even to non-league, for example. I don't think he would. I think he's still got that ambition to play at a decent level. So I don't think he'll go anywhere. I think he'll be number one unless he himself gets injured and then Turner comes back in again. But Kris and I were speaking earlier today, and we sort of said that we need, I guess, a bit of consistency there. So if he's going to play for the rest of the season, then fine. But if the summer he did decide to kind of, call it a day, which I don't think he will, then we need to have a certified number one and to sort of, have that consistency going forward.
Okay, guys, I'm going to give you a quick fire question. Just simple yes or no. Glenn Morris, club yes, legend. Kris?
100%.
Yes.
Mike?
Yeah.
Tom?
Yeah.
It's an easy one. It's the easiest question you'll ever ask me, I think.
Yeah.
No. The easiest question would always be, do you want a pint? But let's move on to man of the matches. I'm going to come to both of you guys. I'll let you chat it out amongst yourselves. But Mike and Tom, you both went with Glenn Morris. Look, 3 big saves he did make. Obviously throughout the game, that especially that big one at the end. But between yourselves, why did you go with Glenn?
I think for me, as I sort of may have mentioned before, that during the course of a game, that if you're not getting too many touches of the ball, which Glenn didn't really have, he didn't have too much to do because a lot of it was going high, wide, whatever kind of thing. That you still have to be switched on for that entire game and to be involved in those big moments that basically win you the game essentially. For me, it's quite an easy one. Yes, I mean there's an honourable mention for me for Connor Masterson because when he goes sort of forward with the ball, it shows you what is actually possible when we do something other than pass it back and then hoof it kind of thing. So he sort of showed us what was possible with that, and he was solid at the back. But for me, I think the fact that Morris was switched on the whole time, he had that save from Pritchard, I think it was in the first half. After Webster gave it away, that's I think he was solid. You can always depend on him, and even if there's a long time where he's not touching the ball or being involved, he's switched on exactly when it counts.
Tom, what about yourself? How come you went with Glenn?
Yeah, similar really. I mean, we got to talk about that save you mentioned from Webster's error in the first half. Like if that goes through Glenn Morris's legs or past him, the game's completely different. And as much as it wasn't a difficult save to make by his own standards, obviously if it does go in, then we're looking at having to try and come back against quite a decent team. But ultimately, if you're going to go win a 1-0 away from home anywhere, be it top of the league, bottom of the league, you're going to get tested. And that last line of defence is going to be breached at some point. We defended really, really well in terms of the back four. But at some point, Morris is going to be called into action. And ultimately, as Mike says, you've gone 90 minutes of not doing an awful lot in terms of point blank saves. And then one comes through and you've got to just chuck yourself at it and hope to keep it out. But he did that, and it was a bit of a scuffle at the end, but it managed to sort of get clear. And he gives a confidence to, I think, the back four in front of him, as well as us, sort of supporters. And anyone in that defence could have been a contender, I think, but ultimately Glenn was the one who kind of acted as the last line for us and made the saves possible. So, not to diminish what anyone else has done, but he was my sort of standout in the end.
I just want to bring up this comment I've just seen from Warren. He's put, what is the average goals conceded between Turner and Morris? Just had a quick Google. Jake Turner this season has played 9 games and conceded 8 goals. Glenn Morris has played 11 and conceded 7. Now, that's on 2 different sites that I've got it off, so I don't know if that's included League 2 and Cup competitions, but there you go, Warren, a bit of a shout. And also we've had this one come through by Gills Greg. Very good goalkeeper and a good servant. Legend, not sure about legend. That term does get used too often, in my opinion. I've got to agree, Greg, it does get used quite a lot nowadays. But for me, Glenn Morris, club legend. Kris, Connor Masterson, how come you went with him?
I think, I spoke about it earlier on, just his general play. I've been quite critical of him and Max in recent weeks, but not nastily so, just constructively. But I think when you're critical of players, you also have to give them credit when they play well. Him and Max are absolutely solid at the back, and obviously his run upfield, which then created the chance really for Robbie to score. So 100% Connor this week for me.
For me, it was Max Clark. I just thought he was absolutely brilliant, especially when I actually went back and looked over his stats. I thought they were great. Really hasn't put a foot wrong. Did really well at Salford. Thought could have picked up the man of the match there as well. But for me, Max Clark, 100%. Let's jump on to the next slide, of course. So this,
I just want to put that these stats are from SofaScore. I don't quite understand how you can make 1 tackle and win 2 ground duels, but it is what it is. So sorry, Matt, carry on.
No. Maybe they're thinking of sliding tackles. I have no idea. But in terms of the view in focus this week, it is our 2 centre-backs of Connor Masterson and Max Amar. Kris, first off, do you think we need to, I want to say this in a nice way, move on from Max Amar and maybe start building our defence around a player like Connor Masterson and Shadoji?
So I can't see either of them staying in the summer. Both of them are out of contract. I think that we need to start looking at potentially building a defence around Shadoji. He has got a few mistakes in him, but I feel that he will come good. He's still young. He's still learning, but he, for me, is the player. Well, I wouldn't say the player of the future, like some kind of, I don't know, but I would say that he's the only one that's still under contract at the end of the season. So maybe bringing someone in to partner him with a bit more experience. But I can't see that Connor's going to stay, especially if we stay in League 2. I think that he could easily play in League 1. Max, is he really a Bonner player? No. Will we? We can't be sentimental with him, mate. We can't. There's no room for sentiment in football. So I think both of them will go in the summer, and I feel that we're just going to have to start building things moving forward with Shad.
So Mike, obviously, Kris seems to think potentially they're both going to move on in the summer. So do you think we need to use this January transfer window as a potential to look out for replacements? I'm going to throw you all a question a bit later on after we do this little bit, which I mentioned to you off air, and you by all means can go into it. But do you really think maybe January, with the window coming up, we should start looking at who we can get in to replace these guys?
I think with both of those 2 out of contract in the summer, I think, January is the time to start thinking about that and researching and seeing who's also going to be sort of out of contract. I mean, I disagree with Chris's viewpoint. Is Aimer is a Bonner type player? I think if he wasn't, I don't think Bonner would keep him with the captaincy. I don't think he would, unless Aimer's got pictures of him in compromising positions, which some people seem to think. Yeah. So with the pair of them, I think it's definitely worth researching. With Masterson, I completely agree with Kris that I think he can play at a better level. With League One, if we don't go up, then I can see that happening. But I think if Max was offered a contract in the summer to stay, I think he would take it with both hands and absolutely wring his hands with glee.
So on that then, Tom, if Max was to be offered a contract, let's just say it was a 1-year extension, slightly reduced wages, knowing that he was going to be a squad player, would you keep him?
Yeah.
As a squad?
Yes. I agree with the Connor thing. I think he thinks he can play higher, and he probably can. I think he was brought in under the fact that Neil Harris really wanted him, and obviously when Harris left, kind of it didn't change his attitude completely, but I do think we've seen a bit of a difference in him in terms of his character over the last 12 months. Max is going to be 33 by the time his contract runs out in the summer. I think, as much as that's not a reason to get rid, I do think it will be 1 year, if anything. But I'm going to throw something out there here a little bit. I do think that the situation with these two is a reason why we've recalled Sam Gale from Chelmsford, because I think he's got a real future. Ultimately, that means that nothing's going to happen in January. I think that these two will still play in January. I think we'll let their contracts run to the end, and then it depends on where we are in the league, what league we're in May. As to what we do with these two players. I do think Connor will go regardless. I think Max, if we are still in League Two, will be given another year under the kind of guarantee that there is no guarantee. He may not be captain anymore. He may be club captain, but maybe not team captain. If that makes some sort of difference. Yeah. But I think he'll want the summer to look at the likes of Sam Gale and go, right, are you ready for a place in the team? And that might be a bit of a jump, but that's my thought process.
Can I just let's just jump forward 6 months. Let's just say we managed to get out of this league. We're in League One next year. Do you think Connor would stay then, or do you still think he's thinking, no, I want to get away?
I think it's not the fact. I think he could probably, much like Tucker did when he left and MK Dons were in League One at the time. I think he thinks there's probably a better offer out there, probably a more ambitious club. We obviously would be ambitious to a certain extent, but if there's a mid-table League One team that he can play for, he'd go there, and I think he'd say thanks very much for your time. Max, if we went up, don't know, but let's cross that in May when we have our promotion party first of all.
Okay. Now, guys, I asked you all this off air earlier. I just want to bring it up just to see what you guys think. But give me a yes or no, and then just a brief explanation on why that is your answer. But January last year and in the summer, we were rumoured to be in potentially the market looking at someone like Jake Tucker from MK Dons. Obviously, he hasn't played a lot under Scott Lindsay. January rolls around. The Gallisons get an offer come through the door. Jake Tucker on loan for 6 months with the option to buy in the summer. Do you take it? Kris, yes or no? And a little bit of an explanation why.
Probably no, because I'm not a great lover of going back, which is probably clouds my judgment with Max Aimer at times. So, yeah, no for me.
Mike, what about yourself?
I think if we were if we had the squad as it is at the moment and we have our back line as it is at the moment, I don't see Jack Tucker getting in ahead of the three in the centre that we've got at the moment. If something happens in January where one of the three departs, then I think there is definitely space for Jack Tucker. Definitely.
Tom?
Yeah, I can't see it, and I probably wouldn't do it. I mean, I'm wary of changing too much in January anyway. Obviously, I don't think any of these players will leave in January. I think Mark Bonham will want to keep the core of the squad together. I think summer's going to be if we do not go up, there'll be a bit of a cull. But I wouldn't rush to Tucker and go, yeah, you're going to be our replacement. Even if he wasn't made available, which I don't think he will be. I don't see it personally.
No, fair enough. It's just obviously we all have our own opinion. I would take him back if one of the others were to go. But let's get on to our fan opinion. So I'm going to absolutely ruin this. Bozier Andrew, good result today. A fan from Uganda, Africa. I wonder if we can find any fans from further afield than there. Whether he's a real fan or not, we'll find out another day. Maybe he'll message in next week. Let's jump on to the next one, which is the attendances. So obviously away from home, 6,182 home fans, but 1,009 of you brave Gillingham fans making it all the way on that. A massive journey all the way to Milton Keynes, one of the shortest, of course, away days we are going to have this year. I've got to say, and Kris has put it there, a huge well done to our 12th men, all 1,009 of you supporting the boys. You definitely outsang that 30,000-seater stadium, which only held 6,000 fans away.
If you look closely, Matt, you can see Bozier Andrew in the background there. You can see him.
All the way over, just... Hey, look! I said it earlier. I paid $9.99 for that service. You know what I mean. I'm going all out. If somebody messages me, I'm putting it on there.
I just appreciate the fact that he put Uganda, Africa, like we don't know where Uganda is.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been Uganda, Surrey, but
Well, we do also have a return tonight of Phil's Faults, so we'll give Phil's Faults a quick play.
It's a terrific feeling knowing that we've just won a game of football, and not only that, won against an informed team. Really pleased with how we've actually played in the second half. Obviously there's some things that we still need to pick up on, but on the whole, much improved. 3 points and a happy Christmas.
A happy Christmas indeed. It's going to be, and it will be even happier if this Friday, 7:45 kickoff, we can beat Chesterfield at the Mems Policefield Stadium. When you actually look back at, Chesterfield haven't had a great season, maybe not as good as they would have expected so far. We've not had a great, obviously, season either. But Kris, 2 wins on the trot so far. Are Gills going to make it 3 on the trot?
So Cheltenham at home on Friday. Obviously, the last 5 games are in all competitions. It's not just the league. If we keep saying it, don't we? We win, and then it's like, can we build on it? And then we won. Yeah, we won yesterday. Sorry, we won Saturday. And it's, can we build on that? Can we push that further? What are we going to do next? We need to keep that consistency now, because we are I know we're close to the playoffs, but if we carry on with this inconsistent form, it's going to get to January, February time where everybody starts pushing on and we're going to be left behind. So we really need to just back Saturday up with another win on Friday against Cheltenham and just take it one game at a time.
And that's right. Obviously, we've got to fully back and get behind the boys, Mike. Can you see a win at home and return it back to Fortress Priestfield like it was at for the majority of this year up until recently?
Yeah, I think as Kris said, this consistency. We need the consistency. We need that level of effort every game. I know it's a long season and everything like that, but with Cheltenham, the thing is, these games before the January window, they all count, because as soon as we hit January, every team is looking to strengthen in areas, and we need to make these games in the lead up to the January window count. And the last thing we want is these Jekyll and Hyde performances that we seem to be treated to, where there are games like where we've gotten away with it. There are games where we really haven't gotten away with it at home. If the team play like we did when we had like Harrogate at home, then it's going to be a long day sort of thing, or a long night in this case. But Cheltenham, definitely beatable. I mean, their form is okay, but I think they're definitely they're the type of side that I think that we can put in a good amount of effort and come away with the 3 points.
Well, yeah, let's hope we can, because look, I always believe each week we're going to win 7-0 before kickoff, and let's hope that could potentially happen this week. Tom, here you go. I'm going to put you on the spot because you do write a lot about Gillingham, but we've got a very tough Christmas period coming up. Obviously, we've got Cheltenham on Friday. On the 26th, Tuesday, the 26th, we've got Colchester. So Thursday, 26th, Colchester. Then we've got Wimbledon away. Then we've got Bromley back at home on the 2nd, and then Chesterfield away. So we managed to pick up 7 points in our last 5 games out of a potential 15 in our next 5. How many can you see us, Gills, potentially picking up?
Oh, it depends what Gills turn up, really, innit? I mean, as I say, Cheltenham at home is going to be one of those, because Colchester, for some reason, we are very hit and miss against. I know we beat them last season around the same sort of time of the year, but ultimately before that we got trounced by them. So just go in and put a good performance there. Wimbledon away won't be easy. They're on a really good run of form right now. And then Chesterfield are hit and miss. Bromley are a decent side. So we've got potential there to grind out some good results, but they all start with this match right here on Friday. Home match, good run of form compared to the last sort of October and most of November that was hideous. So I just think start ahead with 3 points on Friday and then go from there. But I'd like to see us put a good account in away at Wimbledon, because that's going to be our toughest game I think on paper. They're a decent side under Johnny Jackson. So let's win this one. Decent away. If we can get a win on Boxing Day, even better, because then that could put us in a really good spot for Wimbledon and Bromley. I can't say we're going to get these points, because it's going to go haywire, isn't it? So I'm just going to be reserved.
I've got to say, Tom, I'm really disappointed that you didn't just come out and say, out of 15, we are going to get 15, because that's the only acceptable answer. When I'm hosting, that is the only acceptable answer. 15 points out of a possible 15, because we are the mighty, mighty Gillingham.
Yeah, Tom, I don't think it's being a cynic, mate. I think it's being a realist, really.
Hey, we're playing Man United. We're beating them 7-0.
Oh, here we go.
I tell you every week, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Guys, as
three more leagues to go.
We are in partnership with the Gillingham Supporters Club. If you are not a member, why are you not a member? Get on board and join today. Some great deals. Always got monthly prizes with the raffle that they do. £50 and £25 to win. Really cheap to join, guys. It's definitely worth it. If you do go on a lot of away games as well, you get money off your away travels. So, guys, we have come to the end of the show. There's all our social media info. Please, if you are not liking and subscribing to us, please click the like and subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching. It's been an incredible couple of days, obviously, for the Gills. We're 2 wins in the last, obviously 3, which is great for the boys. Mark Bonner's men. Promotion could be on the cards, but let's get this busy Christmas period out of the way. He's been Kris. He's been Mike. He's been Tom. I've been Matt. Thank you for watching the View from the Medway Fancast, and up the Gills.
Up the Gills.
Yeah!